Oh, we're live. We're live.
All
All right,
right,
so let's share it out.
yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Has it come through on your end? Okay, I see
No,
you on my.
not
No?
yet.
Okay,
Not yet. And maybe
I'm
because did you tag me?
I'm about to tag you now,
Okay.
girly. Yes. I just tagged you.
Hey y'all, while we are doing this, how y'all doing out there? Come on in the room. We about to
Huh.
have some grown folks talk on this day.
Yes. Let's go, grown
It is
folks.
about to go up and down. Yes, indeed. I am very much excited, especially about this topic, because I believe that it's not discussed enough. And
It's
today,
definitely not discussed enough. But we're
and
about to change that.
oh, 100%. And then the beauty about this thing is you got two very different perspectives, but had like a similar outcome. So check out the irony.
Well, look, it's all about having healthier, loving relationships, right?
Absolutely.
I just like to start from don't bullshit me.
Come
And
on.
Toy likes to start from, okay, sweet talk me just a little bit. No, don't bullshit me.
Right.
Let's just let's let it be what it's gonna be, right? Leave
That'll
it
be
for what
what
it
it's
is.
going to be. And see, I ain't mad at that approach either, right? So I am letting some people jump on here so that before we get started, we'll have our audience already put in place. So forgive us, please, for looking down. Coach Sean, I want you to take over for 2 seconds while I do this really, really quick.
All right, no problem, no problem. We are here today. This is Sean Speaks, and I have Coach Toy Addington. And I am first of all, I'm just so glad to be here this afternoon or this tonight, and to talk about what we're talking about. Many of you know that I like to talk about pretty much anything. There's nothing I don't want to talk about, even stuff that may hit me in a certain kind of way. I still want to talk about it because I do believe that people do change from having conversations. And the reason why I know that is because it's from me having conversations with myself and being real with myself and addressing things that need to be addressed is how I feel like my life is moving forward in a very good way. So, and I know Coach Toy, being a coach, she believes the same thing, right? I mean, she
Oh,
basically
absolutely.
help people to better themselves, how they see themselves.
Come
And I
on
think
now.
that this is where me and Coach Toy we align a lot.
Mhm.
I have no desire to make you be who you don't want to be,
Come on.
right? Only to give you some assistance to be who it is that you want to be.
Hmm.
And one of my passions is in the area of relationships. See,
Okay.
I am tired of us building or creating fragile relationships.
Mm.
Our relationships should be anti fragile,
Hmm.
right? You
And
should be
I
able
like
to
to
talk
say,
about anything. What you about to
and
say?
I like to say, building fallacious relationships.
Ooh.
I like to say fallacious. See, you see how aligned we are. I see some guys jumping on Coach Sean. Yeah, we have, of course, Coach Toy Addington, the CEO of ICC Life Coach Institute, where I can help you start and grow your coaching business and leave a legacy for you and your family. Coach Sean, oh God, she's an attorney, y'all. So y'all already know we got the real
Hey,
thing. Oh, she specializes in relationships, right? So that's what brings us here and together. And when you bring that beauty of coach and attorney together, and she's a coach, and I'm in medical sales, and then you get them that fire going, right? And y'all get to talking about stuff. You're like, everybody needs to hear this, right? So that's what brings us here today on this day. So the topic on today is
monogamy versus polygamy. And when we say polygamy, we're talking about polygamy type relationships because there's several types, right? And so I'm just going to jump into. Thank you, Greta. Greta isn't on yet, but she kind of gave me some.
Raymond. Hey, Coach Terry.
Oh, thank you for sharing, Raymond.
Yes.
What I do want to say one thing. The I think that when you start to have more realistic relationships, you can actually save relationships, you can save marriages before they get too far gone.
Right.
And that's kind of what we're going to focus on today with regards to, and I know the title probably threw some people off, monogamy versus polygamy.
Oh,
But this is
absolutely.
the thing. This is the thing. We're saying you don't have to take my
A
choice
choice
away.
away.
You don't
Boom.
have to take it. Boom.
Right.
And we're going to break down what we mean by why you don't have to take my choice away. And this is for the women and this is for the men. I'm going to
Oh,
tell you,
absolutely.
men, you're going to want to hear this too, because this is not going to be the beat up on the man day.
It's not.
Yep. And it's not going to be the beat up on the woman day.
It's
Right?
not.
We're going to stand in our being of beautiful women and handsome, gorgeous men and create and have the foundational ability to create anti-fragile relationships where people are happily together.
Makes sense. And then you know what? A lot of times people try to formulate happiness into this beautiful thing that is somebody else's beauty. So they want the white picket fence. They want the dog. They want the kids. They want the houses. They want the cars. They want the monogamy. They want the loyalty. They want the trust. They want the money. They want all of that, right? But are you willing to accept the possibility of, if you have a man or a woman with that status that you are dreaming of because you've seen this thing on TV, or maybe somebody you know personally who perceivingly have all of those things, you don't know what's going on behind the black curtain. So when you look at it realistically, a lot of relationships, and correct me if I'm wrong, Coach Sean, a lot of relationships, they have other people that are on the outside. So a lot of times you are in a polygamous relationship and don't even
know it. And that is what we're going to talk about today. What's up, Raymond? What's up, Carrie? Thank you all for tuning in. Share.
share.
Well, one of the things, when we talk about monogamous relationships, I think pretty much for the most part, everybody is going to say that a monogamous relationship is between two parties, right? And there's some type of agreement or some promise of sexual fidelity.
Mm-hmm.
Although I think that you cannot just focus on sexual fidelity. There's emotional fidelity.
Mm-hmm.
There's intellectual fidelity, right? There is physical fidelity in addition to sexual fidelity, and emotional fidelity. Because sometimes you can find yourself in what we call the traditional monogamous relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we'll start off with the traditional monogamous relationship. Most of us think of as one woman and one man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you get married, or you have some type of commitment that says, I will never be with anybody else but you. I will never be with anybody else but you. So you have this promise, right? So that's the monogamy there, right? But then what happens if you have this monogamous situation and one of the parties, male or the female, or if it's a male or female, because we have that expanded relationship, right? But what if one party breaches the promise of fidelity, of faithfulness to the other party, right? Now, I know that the standard answer on that is that person cheated.
Right.
That's what we said, because that's what I would have said. That
That's what I'm
person cheated.
saying. Right.
That person cheated.
He's
Right?
a cheater.
He's a cheater, or she's a cheater.
Or she's a cheater, right?
Okay, but what if, first scenario, that person cheats, what we call cheat. The other person forgives,
Okay.
right? And then they try to work it out. The person that cheated says, baby, I'll never do it again. I just had a drunken night, or I had a this night, or it was a mistake.
And I'm going to jail the first time. But I'm listening. You don't get a time with me.
Okay, but that's you, and we'll get to you in the one time. But
Okay.
let's say I forgive. Let's
Okay.
say you cheat and I forgive, right? And we go along, we truck along, relationship going good. You know, I'm checking your phone. I'm tracking you. I'm tracking, right? Because you got to build some trust. I'm tracking. And then after a while, I get comfortable.
Okay.
And then the person does it again.
Okay.
Then
So
they come
we're
and say,
down.
2 times. Baby. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
I'll never do it. I want my family. I want my boo. You know I love you. You know that girl don't mean nothing to me. That boy don't mean nothing to me. And I forgive again. Two times.
Two times.
Two times.
Okay.
All right.
Round two.
Round two. And let's say this continues on, because sometimes in my practice, I've heard people say that their spouse has cheated an innumerable amount of times, but yet they may have stayed married 5 years, 10 years, 15
Strong
years.
individuals. Woo, 2 arms strong. I ain't that strong, but I'm listening. Come on. I'm listening. You know I'm ready to dive in.
Okay, so ponder this. Ponder this.
Okay.
This is my hypothesis here. The first time the person cheated, I'm going to give you a pass. Okay, you didn't know, but you forgave. The second time the person cheated, I actually don't think it's the quote unquote.
Thank you, Coach Carrie. Come get me.
Right?
She's gonna bail me out. That's why, Coach. I'm gurney status. He rolling out on a gurney.
You gonna hurt him.
Gurney means you are DOA, dead on arrival.
Okay, so why are you gonna be so extreme about it, Coach Toy?
Well, okay, so here is the thing. When if we're married and you say those vows to me and you done went around too, because see, I'm gonna tell you something. I'm fair. I understand, right? Okay. I understand that instinctively we are not just attracted to one person.
Okay.
I understand that. Intuitively and hormonally, we're not. It's unrealistic. But when you make that vow, right, to say, I'm going to be with you and only you.
Okay.
Then there's some discipline involved. Because if that's the case, I can be with Cash App Craig, Free Food Freddy. I'm just saying, head and Murphy head, boom, bam, pop. Like, right. So the point I'm making is, this thing got to be fair exchange, no robbery. So if I got to clink, like Tyler Perry said, clink, clink, you got to be able to not having your thing going in a circle. See, that's a problem. Now, if I dig a little deeper, see, it's when a lot of these men and women, they're trifling. They're not protecting themselves. And so they don't know how to judge cheat. They bring home babies, STDs, and bed bugs. I don't want none of that in my life. So it's more than just the infidelity as it relates to cheating. It's a lot of things that go along with, first of all, getting past the first time doing it, right? That's the hardest time, because then after that, it tells the brain, this is okay for us to do. So now you're doing it again and again and again. Now, I have a choice to make. Do I leave or do I stay? Now, it depends on how much money. It depends on how much things are involved I'm joking, that's going to dictate my next move, right? If kids are involved. I'm not saying, and I've dealt with infidelity before and didn't leave. So I'm not saying this as a woman who haven't dealt with it. I was married, 16 years, and then been divorced now for over 3. So I'm speaking from a place of experience, but don't play with me. Try Jesus, he's safer.
I'm gonna throw a monkey wrench at you.
Let's do it.
I don't really think nobody can cheat on somebody. Now without first cheating on themselves. And let me explain to you why. Okay. Hear me. All right. This is the thing. If you're in a relationship with somebody, right, and you are relying on their promise of whatever, and since we talked about fidelity, we're going to talk about fidelity. And you're relying on their promise of fidelity, right? Their promise of faithfulness. Then the next question I have to ask is, are they faithful to themselves?
Wait a minute, I'm sorry for that, but you said, I don't need bail, I'm going to need visiting hours. You got that right. You got to know who you playing with. You got to know who to do this with and not do this with, okay? But I'm listening. I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
That's so funny.
That's all right. That is perfectly fine. That is perfectly fine. Because that's the thing. We have different views about this. Like, I really don't think you can be cheated upon.
Okay.
I think you can only cheat yourself.
Okay.
And as I was explaining, the reason why I think that is because if I'm in a relationship with somebody and they make a promise of whatever, right? If they make a promise of fidelity, right? And then let's say that they do step out, right? Then the first thing that does is put me as the cheated upon, which is I'm the cheated upon. I'm now the victim, right? This is the thing. This is what I ask you, right? Are you yourself practicing a faithfulness to yourself? Right? Are you practicing a faithfulness to yourself? Because I will say that if you're not practicing a faithfulness to yourself, I do not think you can show up faithful to somebody else.
Okay.
Therefore, in a relationship, to me, that's two individuals practicing faithfulness to themselves in conjunction with somebody else. Therefore, I don't have to make a promise to you that I'm gonna be faithful. Because if I'm practicing faithfulness to myself, I'm gonna show up practicing faithfulness to you because that is what I'm developing in my life. But if I am developing not unreliability in my own life, then how is it that I am going to make a demand on you to be faithful when I can't be faithful? When I say I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and I don't. If I say I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna lose 5 pounds, and I don't, everything I'm doing is the opposite of anything that's gonna support me losing 5 pounds. And my thing is, find a practice of being faithful to yourself. And in doing that, I think that you can then find a practice of being faithful to another.
And let me piggyback off that a little bit. That's so true. You're spot on with that, because everything we do is composed of habits. And the things that we do naturally and normally are the things that feel good to us and okay. Now let me unpack that a little bit. So if I am at the Grand Canyon, who all have been to the Grand Canyon before? That's a big old hole, right? And y'all know how it has that bridge that it's like a glass bridge. So you look down, you look like you in the middle of the Grand Canyon, right? In fact, you're standing on top of a glass. Now, when I started walking toward the ledge, immediately my brain started to tell me that this is not safe for us to do because it was unfamiliar with it, right? And even though I wasn't going to fall, because the glass was there, it still was an unfamiliar place for me. So my habit was to say, that ain't safe, so I didn't get on the bridge. Same things with relationships. If you have created a habit of letting yourself push past being disrespectful, disloyal, untrustworthy, then you're going to continue that on with whoever you're with. It doesn't matter if it's a wife or a girlfriend or your situationship. That's who you are. But the beauty is, the power that we have as human beings is we can change that habit, right? We have a choice to make. The choice that you can make can actually help you become a better person all the way around. And once you start to create a habit in one area, the brain says it's okay in another area. So you just start bettering yourself. So if you somebody that's rocking with me, I'm going to go and tell you, go and have your brain and mind and habits ready not to play with me. Okay? It's going to be some slow singing and flower bringing. Okay?
I got you. I got you, and I agree with you. But I still stand on my position that you have to practice that with yourself.
You do.
You have to practice that with yourself, and then that way you're so confident in who you are as a lover to yourself.
Right.
That when you connect with someone, if they're not bringing it, you're not going to waste your time.
So what you say? No, go ahead. I'm listening. Go ahead.
So if that person does, let's say, cheat or do something that's not in alignment, you're not going to then talk yourself into not facing reality. You will face reality and deal with reality, because sometimes what happens is we get into these relationships and we create fragile relationships, and then our emotions get out of whack. And then we're so tied to our emotions that we're not dealing with reality, right? And then that person then cheats on us not one time, not 2 times, not 3 times, but 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, right?
Right.
And you keep forgiving them and forgiving them, forgiving them and forgiving them, right? But yet you still want to believe in yourself that you have a monogamous relationship.
Right.
Because you need to self-deceive yourself in order to soothe your emotions, right? And our supposition here today is that if you are engaged in that type of situation, you are really in a polygamous type of relationship.
And you are, right?
And you are.
And a lot of people aren't comfortable with that, right? For many different reasons. And religion teaches us, and traditions teaches us that if you and I are together, then you and I are together, right? So traditionally, that's my habit, that's my norm. I don't want to move outside of that. Now, take it a little further. I think it was 1882 is when they started the whole monogamous thing and the marriage, one man, one woman. In different countries, they have several wives, right? In different cultures, some like Muslims, for example, they can have as many wives as they can afford, right? And so, or even Africans, they do the same thing, you know. But in the United States of America, okay. Hey, over here, we don't do that. You know, but if that's the thing you decide to do, by all means, that's cool. But what get me, coach, is when we're dating. And everybody should just be honest about what we are and what we aren't doing. Because there are levels to it. There's getting to know a person, there's dating, there's a relationship, there's engaged, and then there's marriage. Nowhere in any of those phases, especially the first 2-3 phases, should you be lying to me about you having Keisha, Rhonda, Shalonda, Mary, Carrie, about 3 Kims, what it still want from my, you know what I mean? You ain't got to lie to me when the truth will do, because I might not want you like that. But don't manipulate me into something and having me thinking that we have something that we don't have, knowing you got somebody in the cut. I might have somebody in the cut too, right? So let's just be honest. That's my whole thing. Do not take my choice away. Being a single woman and you're married, I'm single. So we're getting 2 very different perspectives, right?
Oh, wait a minute. Carrie says, so between the slow singing and flower bringing, being loyal to the demands of your partner, and the being faithful to oneself, can you have both? I.e., can you be a monogamous and a polygamous relationship?
No, you cannot. That's 2 different things. That's just like saying, can I have the oil and water together? No, boo, they don't mix. Either it's one-on-one or it's one to many.
Well, I'm a push back on that.
Okay.
The question is, can you be a monogamous in a polygamous relationship? And if we're saying monogamy is a promise or an agreement of fidelity between parties, the fact that it's more than 2 parties is irrelevant to the equation. If you have a 4-party relationship and these 4 people agree to a monogamy between them 4, then wouldn't that be? Or are we only limiting the faithfulness, the fidelity of fidelity to the agreement to just 2 people?
I think it's 2. Okay. Because once you hit
polygamy
here, I'm thinking pornography. I can't get my mind right. You said 4 people, I got pornography. Excuse me, y'all. I told y'all I don't have no kids on here. Don't have kids. I mean, I'm on this. Yeah. So anyway, let me get my mind right. So if you're in a polygamy relationship, that means more than one, right? So my whole thing is you got to get with the person where y'all have like-mindedness or views about relationships and how it should be. Okay. Now, what Antonio said. Oh, okay. So Antonio said, as much as a man can handle financially. Then let me tell y'all something about that biz. What a lot of people don't understand is, yeah, you may have all the money in the world, and you may say, and I actually had somebody that told me that I can have more than one wife or one girlfriend because I can afford it. But how much is it costing you when your wife is miserable? How much is it costing you when she is refraining or your husband from being intimate with you, or the damage that it causes them mentally and emotionally, right? And sometimes it carries on to physicality, because if you're stressed, you're going to produce that cortisol hormone, and that leads to heart attack, stroke, stress, headaches, weight loss.
But you're talking about a situation where there's no conscious awareness by all parties of what the deal is. You're talking about these people who are in relationships, right? Think that they're monogamous when one party or both parties are not being monogamous towards the other party. But when you have an open conversation or relationship where you're being honest about what the parameters are, right? Then you shouldn't be having that emotional attack of, oh my goodness, what is he doing? Is he cheating? Is she cheating? What you shouldn't have that, right? To me, you only have that when someone is promising you something that they either know they can't give you, or the other person knows that the other person is making them a promise that they know that they're not going to keep. Right. Sometimes that's what we do, especially us as women, not to knock the men, but especially us as women. Sometimes as women, we tend to want to deceive ourselves into thinking we have something that we don't have. And we believe We believe the baby, I will never do it again, when you
Right.
know that that person will.
But see, here's the thing: if they knew that they wouldn't do it again, then they wouldn't forgive, right? If you know somebody gonna do it again, you gonna do one or two things. You either gonna say, you know what, you gonna go with the flow with it and tolerate it, or you're gonna leave. But the thing is, once a person tells you, "Oh, baby, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna do it no more," you want to trust that the first time. And it's easy to forgive. Well, it's not easy, but it's easier to forgive the first time than the second, because now I don't trust you no more. So whatever you said out your mouth don't matter. So now the disrespect and all kinds of stuff follows that, because now you ain't caring about how I feel. You ain't caring about, the embarrassment. You're not caring about how much I'm detaching from you just to get that 20%, and you got 80% at home. Now that's a different discussion, right? Because
we're gonna have to dive a little deeper in that, because I will play the devil's advocate on that.
okay,
Right? Because I just think that that's not the way to look at it as a woman, because now it's like you're putting the other person in the power position over your own emotions. Right?
Well, not necessarily. If the agreement, if we're married, and I say, and we make a vow to each other, and we say that we're going to be together and just us, so don't let that be in the vows. You say,
okay, but wait a minute. Then what if so now you're making the vow more important than the connection between two or more people, right?
well, isn't that, you got to listen. The connection, the vows is a part of the connection. To be clear.
Okay, wait a minute. Let me push back on that. If the vow is part of the connection, then when you first meet a person, do you meet the vow or do you meet the person?
I vow to meet the person that ain't gonna cheat on me. I'm telling you.
That's bullshit on that. Bullshit, Toy. Bullshit. You meet the person before you ever make a vow, before you ever make a contract. You meet the person. And I think what happens is we allow these vows, these marriage contracts, all of these labels to overshadow the very thing that draws me to you and that draws you to me. That's what should be developed.
So check this out. When you meeting a person and you dating, and you guys are dating for the same purpose, which is marriage, are you not subliminally knowing that those vows are in the back of your head, for better or for worse, to death do us part? Yes, you do. That's why so many people break up, because they break the vow, even though you are not married at the time.
No. I'm agreeing. I was shaking my head, but not necessarily what you were saying. Yeah,
but there has to be a standard put in place, right, for us to measure what we have against.
But why can't it be your standard with that person, as opposed to some arbitrary standard set by society? And this is how we get from these monogamous relationships to these polygamous relationships without your agreement, without your choice. But I want to go into just defining these types of relationships, because I really didn't know them either, right? So polygyny is a man having more than one female or wife.
Okay.
Polygyny. Polyamory is the state of practice of having more than one open romantic relationship at a time. Polyandry is the state of practice of having more than one husband or male at a time. And polygamy is a marriage in which a spouse of either sex may have more than one mate at the same time. And once you kind of really dissect these definitions, this is why we're saying that sometimes you can think you're in a one man, one woman monogamous relationship, and then when somebody cheats, especially if it's a continuous cheating, you have actually now merged into one of those poly type relationships,
right,
even though you may not have necessarily choose to be in one.
Makes sense.
Right? And what I try to tell people is, if you find yourself in that situation, this is time when we need to have what I call a relationship board meeting, right? And we're going to deal with what the reality of our relationship is, not what I thought it was going to be 10 years ago when we got married. The reality of it is that you can't stay faithful. You are not of the faithful kind. Right. And I need to deal with the reality that you're not faithful to me.
Come on now.
Right? Instead of what I want it to be, I need to deal with what it is.
But the problem is, most individuals won't tell you that off top, male or female. They won't tell you that I like variety. Just say that, because I might be okay with you liking variety. Why lie when the truth will do, is my point.
Why lie when the truth will do?
And they're so afraid because of the norm, the phenomenon of the norm.
The laws will say that the reason why they have to lie is because women needed protecting back in the 1800s.
Okay.
So they needed protection, and I say, okay, in 1800s that was true,
Okay.
because of the way the laws were, the way women were marginalized, etc. But that's not the case. A lot of us women make more money than most men.
Come on
Right?
now.
We are very self-sufficient, right? So we don't necessarily need that same protection as long as we are willing to face the reality of our situation, as opposed to living this fantasy world of he's gonna give me a diamond ring, and this diamond ring is gonna make everything fine, and we're gonna have this picket fence. What are you laughing at?
Girl, they cutting up in the comments. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Coach. I'm so sorry, but they cutting up in the comments.
Bring some of the comments. Bring them in. Bring them in. What they saying?
Girl, Antonio saying this age of STDs lying means dying. They got blue waffle, yellow boom. Woo, child, exactly. And then, wait a minute, I'm trying to see. I meant some. Can you see the comments?
I see Donna Maria says preach women. Preach
I know
women.
that's right. I meant so.
Wait a minute, somebody asked a question. I want to get, and I don't. It's Facebook, so I can't tell you who it is. It says, "Is faithfulness contingent on sex with one woman or with your commitment to the relationship?" Okay, I'm gonna repeat that question. Is faithfulness contingent on sex? I went up. Contingent on sex with the woman or with your commitment to the relationship? See, now that's a good question, Carlos. I guess Carlos, that's actually a really good question. Is faithfulness contingent on sex with one woman or with your commitment to the relationship? Because I think it depends upon the parties.
Right.
Because, and this is how, to me, you can find yourself, or you can choose to be in a new type of monogamy, right? Because somebody can be monogamous to the commitment to the relationship, meaning they may not necessarily want a relationship with somebody else, but they may want to have sexual relations with more than one person.
Right.
And if you are okay with that and that works for you and that person, what's wrong with that? Why does our relationship have to match some arbitrary standard that doesn't match the energy that you and I are having with each other?
So I agree and disagree with that. So I agree because we all should, in fact, mind our own home and business. Okay. So I might be the monogamous person in a relationship, but I may be okay with him having someone else. In turn, we both may think that we need to just be with one another. The problem lies when you go out and you be intimate with somebody else and you lie to me about it. And I find out through going to the doctor and I got something I can't get rid of, or I can get rid of. Or somebody pops up at my doorstep saying, ding, 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 I'm pregnant. And you like, okay, wait a minute, right? So it's a lot that goes along with this stepping on the outside of whatever the commitment is. My thing is, I desire, and when I think of relationships, I think everybody should be able to do what makes them happy. However, you need to be upfront at first. So the person does not go in with the expectation that you're somebody that's monogamous, when subliminally and subconsciously, you know that's not who you truly are. You should not force yourself into a habit that is not natural or normal for you. It's like putting a wild lion inside of a house dog cage, and it's not normal for them. It will drive them crazy. That drives misery. Nobody wants to. I know I don't. Some people might like it, but people in general don't want to be miserable, right? So you got to get with somebody who can rock and roll with what you with, right? They got to rock and roll with whatever that thing.
But Coach Toy, I think that's part of. You said that people should have that conversation and be honest up front.
Yes.
But I would say that you can have an honesty up front, but it needs to be a continual honesty. That's why you have to have conversation, and it has to
100%.
be a constant conversation. And I think what happens is we build these relationships that are fragile,
Mm-hmm.
and then we keep them fragile because we're unwilling to have honest conversations on an ongoing basis. Because
Right.
if I come to you, if I've been married to you or we dating and we've been dating and rocking with each other for 5 years,
Okay.
and I come to you and I say, man, I kind of been, having some thoughts, you know,
Okay.
right? I'm not gonna have that conversation in a really fragile relationship, because the first thing I'm gonna think is, Toy ain't gonna be able to handle that. She ain't
Right.
gonna handle that. Because if I tell her what I'm really feeling, then she gonna want to break up, and then she gonna break up our happy home, and da 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 da, right? And I think that that's why a lot of times men and women don't have these honest conversations, because we create these fragile relationships
We do.
that literally you blow at them, they're gonna break down.
But here's the thing, though. Remember, in this title, it says monogamy or polygamy, but don't take my choice away. A lot of people you don't know until you know. In other words, I need you to inspect what you expect before you assume that I'm not okay with it.
Repeat that, girl. Repeat that.
Inspect what you expect before you assume that I'm not okay with it, because I just might be. You know, I might say, but you know what? I've been thinking about Cash App Credit or Free Food Fred. You know, we can do this thing.
But wait a minute now. A lot of times, and my men that's on here, Antonio, Carlos, help us out here. Sometimes men can't handle the same thing that they want to give. Like, so sometimes you can have men that want to be in a polygyny relationship, but then they're unwilling to be in a polyandry relationship where the woman has multiple. So what if I'm the woman that want to have multiple men, right?
Oh, use the He want to knock the bottom out. Well, we don't want nobody else doing it. It's not. Most of the time, it's not going to happen. But some men are actually okay with that. Why? Because selfishly, they're like, you know what? I want to be with Big Booty Betty anyway. You know what I mean? Like, it's like a pact.
But wait a minute. But what if there's faithfulness, there's fidelity in that polyandry relationship? So you got a woman, you got two men, and those two men are only faithful to her, and she's only faithful to them. Men, can you handle it? Can you handle it?
Can you handle it, man? Because I ain't a man, and I don't know nothing about that life, so I need some help.
Carlos, Antonio, can you handle that type of situation? So we'll let them comment on that, because I think that we're so skewed, right, with the men being able to do it and then the women not doing it. But the reality of it is, we are all each individual people, right, who have desires to have healthy, happy, connective relationships relating to other people, whether it's one person, two people, multiple people, whatever floats your boat, right? But I think what we're trying to encourage is to create very strong relationships and not create these fragile relationships and marriages that we have. And you have to, in order to have a strong relationship that's anti-fragile, you have to be able to be willing to face the reality. And if you, woman or man, are in a relationship or in a marriage with somebody that is continually cheating on you, it does you no good for you to believe the baby, I won't do it again. Your best bet is to say, okay, you know what? This is not even, you don't even have to promise me fidelity anymore. Why don't we talk about how we can redefine our relationship? Because I'm practicing fidelity to myself, and I'm not going to lie to myself. And I'm not going to let you just continuously tell me a lie that I know you are not going to abide by. Right? Let's start to live in the truths of our relationship. Now, I know it's hard because we build these relationships off of lies a lot of times, right? But
everybody be lying.
Everybody be
lying. No damn reason at all. Just lie. I ain't lying. They lie about two things, and one of them I can say on camera. And the other one is the first one is they lie about, status, right? And so my whole thing is, you ain't got to lie to me, Craig, Carlos, or Antonio.
Not required.
Right? You ain't got to do all that, right?
Okay.
And
I want to read some of the comments. Go ahead and finish up your statement first. I cut you off. I'm sorry.
no, it's okay. So just they tell lies, like you said. They started off with that, but again, that's an inner thing with them. They have a learned helplessness or belief about themselves. They can't be honest because the honest person may not be the early bird that catches the worm. You see what I'm saying? So that's a whole nother story. But let's read some of the comments.
I'm gonna start here. Karen says sometimes the conversations are skewed because of the preconceived notion of what relationships are supposed to be. We assume general definitions instead of creating our own.
Come on, creativity.
Exactly. Right. And that's something that we need to work on. I think that's how you build a relationship that's not so fragile. Because this is what I tell you. If you start off a relationship, usually a relationship is really good. Right. And know why it's really good? It's because you feel free to you feel free to conversate and speak your truth because you're not afraid of losing. Right. But then once we get the relationship, because we're not constantly communicating, we become so afraid to lose it. But I think the moment you start,
it comes back up later. Don't do that, girl. Ladies, don't you be that comfortable. I'm telling you, it's gonna come back up later.
Yeah. So just have a constant conversation.
Right.
On what's going on. Now, what did Carlos say? You don't know until you ask. Don't be afraid to ask. And I think that's really another thing that we're really saying. You just don't know, men or women. If you found yourself constantly stepping out on your mate or your partner,
right?
Don't be afraid to ask and say, hey, I think we need to redefine our relationship, not just for me, but for you, because I don't want to put you in a situation where you have to keep believing that I'm going to do something that I know I'm not going to do. We need to start to learn ourselves. Absolutely. If I know I'm not of the faithful kind, then why am I keep telling you, baby, I'm going to forgive you. Baby, forgive me. I'm never going to do it again.
All right.
For 2 years later for me to do it again. And then 2 years later for me to do it again. And
he going to have something knots inside his head. He's like, you got 5 knots. So how you get them knots? And he going to be like, well, it's a long story. Make it short, my wife crazy.
Well, see, I'm going to ask you a question. If you keep putting the knots up on his head, then what does that say about you and your confidence and your practice and the fidelity to yourself to keep knocking him up on the head for him doing something that you already know he's lied about? That
says I ain't going, and every time you try me, you're going to get another knot, bruh.
So why don't you just if that's your situation,
I'm being silly.
Because I think you're being silly, but there's many people that are in relationships doing just what you're saying.
Oh, absolutely. But see, the reality of it is you never know what the backstory is, right? This person may be the only person that they ever loved. This person, they may stay in a relationship with the person and keep tolerating because they got kids together or stability there. A lot of people in general are looking for help. So when they get that person that can financially support them, they be like, shoot, you got no money, you can do whatever you want to do. That's the dumbest thing I ever heard, but it's the smartest thing I never heard. Because if your husband rich and he cheating, baby, collect your coins and cheat back. I'm joking.
All right, and the vice versa, because we always I like to take up for my men. I do, men. I got you.
I'm joking.
If don't nobody else got you, ShonSpeaks got you. I like to take up for our men because I don't think that we get to blame the men. We have to have some strength about ourselves and some knowledge of what it is that we want and what we're going to do. But Antonio says, assume means as you plus me. All right, Antonio.
And then listen, here goes Sean. Wait a minute, dude said not today. Antonio. Here goes shit. Kira says, shoo, you can keep your coins, right? The coins on his toes and in his pockets. If you got enough, you can divorce him and you're going to get more than what you was getting when you were there. You have to choose wisely.
Well, see, I guess, my thing is because I do divorces and I don't really see people as winners in a divorce, to be honest with you.
Right.
I mean, a divorce really to me is just an undoing of one process with another process, right? Most times you have the process of a marriage and then divorce is just the undoing of that process so that you can get out of the system. Right. But to me, there's no winners there. there's no losers, because I don't necessarily see divorce to mean that the marriage was a failure. One of the things that when I counsel my clients, I tell them, okay, just because you're getting a divorce, that doesn't mean that your marriage was a failure, right? No matter how long your marriage lasted, I guarantee you gave it more than likely your best. And even if you didn't feel like you gave it your best, it was probably a situation where you got married because you felt like you had to. You got married because you thought you were so old that you needed to get married to somebody. You got married thinking that maybe you didn't really need to be in love or feel a certain way, and just to find out that you really did need to be a certain way and feel a certain way. You could get married, or you may have got married because you wanted kids, had the kids got older, now you just don't want it no more, right? You know, so, but marriage, divorce doesn't have to be a failure. Divorce is literally just a legal process, undoing a legal process.
Exactly.
This is why I try to say, you don't need either marriage or divorce if we can focus on the connection that people have and develop the connection, develop why I was pulled towards you, I was magnetized toward you in the first place. Let's develop that. Let's develop that without boxing it in the marriage box, the girlfriend boyfriend box, in the we got to have this particular label box. But you can have all those labels. But if you're not conversating, if you're not relating, those labels don't mean anything.
It doesn't.
And the reason why I know they don't mean anything, because that's why people get divorced. Because they usually get divorced 5 years after the labels don't mean anything.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But yet you have a desire for a happier relationship. You know, sometimes you can be in a marriage or in a relationship, or just a girlfriend boyfriend relationship, or girlfriend boyfriend relationship, and literally not feel anything. Now, isn't that sad? Not to feel anything.
But see, we have a tendency, Coach, to want this thing that's not realistic. That's why I said if I ever get remarried again, it wouldn't be to somebody who's never experienced marriage before, because they have a realistic expectation of what it is. Because we see it and we're like, oh, I got a partner in crime. This is somebody who I can be intimate with whenever I want to. We can have kids together. We can take trips. We can go half on these bills, or she or he can pay all, and he's going to be affectionate. But nobody really talks about the times when y'all aren't talking to each other. Nobody wants to talk about the times when y'all don't like each other. Nobody talks about the times when you become unattracted to one another. See, relationships, you go through a whole wave of things, right? And it's a wave of emotions that's constantly happening. The foundation is what matters. That's why when you start a relationship with somebody, you have to be as honest as possible up front, so at least you can know what you're getting. Will it end up the same way it started? 100% no, because we're constantly changing. The one thing in life that is constant is change, and you have to be okay with the changes and the waves, the woos and the woes, the goods and the bads and the happies and the sads as it relates to a marriage. People stop being who they are authentically because they have an unrealistic expectation of what it's supposed to be. So when you talk about connection, that's very important, because when you connect with somebody, your energies and stuff start to match, and no matter what the situation is, you guys can always come back here. And I say, if the people in your relationship that has something to say about the way that you are in your relationship, whether y'all choose to be y'all just you and him, or him and her, and him or her, or you have somebody else to join in. I'm not so, gun-ho on or unrealistic that I know, oh my God, he's only going to be attracted to me and me. No, ma'am, because you ain't only attracted to him. Because I can't tell you how many times I done been seeing I can't tell you who my TV crush is, honey, and I was in a marriage and had to cross my legs. I'm just going to be real with you. Let me cross them and get back in order. Now, I wasn't going to do nothing, but in my mind, it was done, right? So the reality of it is you got to be real with you first, like you said in the beginning, Coach. Be real with you first, and then decide to move according to whatever that standard is you and your mate have. And you have to stop talking so much. Stop telling people what you got going on. Because the reason why it ain't working, because y'all getting advice from people that ain't even got their stuff together.
Well, and I think a lot of times too is because you're trying to take a relationship which is more energetic, and you're trying to contort that relationship into a label that may not fit you. It may
Right.
fit you yesterday, but it may not necessarily fit you today. So I
Right.
say just be flow with the relationship itself,
Right.
flow with the relating, flow with the conversating, flow
Right.
with, because you said something earlier about, people get married or, get in these committed type relationships, and then all of a sudden, they're not talking. And then that not talking goes, you don't talk today, right? And you got a great excuse. You worked all day, you're tired, you just want to watch some television. But then that one day turns into 2 days, turns into 3 days, turns into a month, turns into a year. And before you know it, you and this person no longer communicate. And I'm gonna tell you, I actually think there is something orgasmic in communication,
Come on
which
now.
is which is a lot of times why a monogamous relationship will turn polygamous, not because they really want the physical infidelity, but they want the communicative orgasmic connection.
Oh,
And that
absolutely.
is what they're drawn to, right? Whether you're a man or a woman,
Absolutely.
you're drawn to that, right? And that requires for us to have open and honest, continual conversations with each other. Carlos says, I think we have to also consider that if you don't know who you truly are, come on now, Carlos.
Come on.
Hold on. I think hold on. Who you are in regards to how you attach and your wounds that can be triggered, then it's impossible to be honest in those conversations. You have to be in touch with your healthy, unhealthy inner self. Now, Carlos, I just want to give you a hug on that.
Come on. Come on. Come on.
Carlos, you're hitting it on the money right there. And
Come
this is the
on.
thing, your healthy, unhealthy inner self, because I think that's what we be missing it sometimes. This is why I don't think you can cheat. This is why I don't think that really actually exists. Because to the extent you're saying somebody cheated on you, you cheated on yourself first. To the extent you're saying somebody's unfaithful to you, you're unfaithful to yourself first. To the extent you're creating unhealthy relationships, it is probably because you're not happily together, right? I work on trying to be happily together with Sean so that I can be happily together with somebody else, or happily together in my marriage or my relationship. You have to do that, right? If I'm not happily together, if my head tell me one thing, my heart tell me another thing, so I'm going like this,
Right.
I'm gonna connect with you and we're gonna be happily together. It's no way. And it goes to exactly what Carlos is saying. You have to be in touch with the healthy, unhealthy inner self so that you can start to align that, right? Because all of it works within you. And that energy that you're creating, that momentum on the inside, it pours out. It's like a draw, it's like a magnet. You're gonna magnetize to what's in you, right? And so you get into these relationships where no, you're not gonna have honest conversation because you ain't honest with yourself,
Right.
right? And there was a period of time where it was like, I know I was lying to myself.
Come on now.
And you
I
just
did too for
we
a
all
long
did it.
time. And then I stopped the lie. You can actually stop the lie. And that's what we're going to talk about next week. Talk about stopping the lying.
Stopping the lying. Don't give him too much. Don't wait a minute. Don't give him too much. Just give him a little snippet.
So we're going to next week. We're definitely going to talk, not next week, 2 weeks from now. We're going to talk about stopping the lying to ourselves.
To ourselves. Because
in relationships.
Because it to me, until you stop lying to yourself, it doesn't matter whether you lie to the person or the person lie to you. Because as long as you're lying to yourself, you're already lying. Because you could be stuck in a relationship you don't want. Okay. All right. You're right. We're coming up on the hour.
We're going to answer them next week, 2 weeks from now. So think about this, guys. Who would you be if you actually made the decision to just be okay with the situation that you're in? Meaning the person that you're dealing with and their decision to be the person that's the monogamous person or the person that likes multiple women. Some men and women like variety. You have to be okay with whatever that thing is in your relationship. Number 2, stop talking so much. Because if you're happy in your relationship and you're talking to Sean about it and she's in disagreement with it and you love and trust Sean, then you're going to start thinking differently about the happiness that you were having in your relationship and doubting yourself. You got to know that it is okay to be you authentically and unapologetically. And number 3, listen, have upfront conversations. First, you have to decide within you, what am I okay with? What am I okay with tolerating, and what's the boundary here? What is the breaking point? What is the break point? You know what I mean? You have to know that. And until you know that, I think you should just steer away from being in a relationship with one or many, because you're going to be all over the place and you ain't never going to be happy. So everything around you controls you but you. So at what point are you going to decide to say, you know what, this is what I'm okay with? At what
You're
point?
gonna jump from one relationship unhappy, out of that relationship to another relationship unhappy, out of that marriage to another relationship that's unhappy.
Come on now.
What? And the common denominator in all those relationships is your unhappy self.
Good deal. So next week we're gonna come back 2 weeks from now. I don't know why I keep saying next week, y'all. It's the wine. Hold on. It's the
Yeah, y'all know your girl loves a good Malbec. You know I love a good Malbec.
Listen, I don't even really drink for real. It's apple juice. Boom for your ass.
This is some fermented grape juice. How about that?
I know that's right. I know that's right. Listen, guys, this has been absolutely amazing. It's been fun. We're going to come back and give you guys more of this. Sean Speaks. Oh my gosh, he has a show that comes on every Friday at 10 o'clock on Clubhouse. So make sure y'all check her out.
But I will not. It won't be tomorrow because I'm actually flying to Boston tomorrow, I believe. So I will not be hosting it tomorrow. And I didn't get a replacement, not unless I get somebody last minute. But
come on, Carrie. Come on, Coach Carrie.
Coach Carrie. Coach Carrie.
We can have it. I know that's right.
But I am just but every Friday at 10 a.m. Central Time, I do host a show on the Clubhouse, and we talk about a variety of conversations. My general topic is embodied cognition, because I really, really do think it starts with you.
Oh, absolutely.
You having a great relationship with yourself, you can then start having a great relationship, or at least work on bettering the relationships you have with other people. Because I really do want us to first be happily together with ourselves.
Come on now.
So that we can then be happily together.
And amen. And again, what Look at yourself. I'm just playing. But so for you guys who don't know me, I'm Toy Addington, the CEO of ICC Life Coach Institute. We certify coaches. Yes, we are ICF accredited. Yes, the first and only globally accredited life coaching school in the tri-state area. My last class is going to be in September for 2021. Thanks for you guys, and I see a lot of my coaches on here. Thank y'all for watching. Thank you guys who signed up for the retreat. Oh, it's about to go down. Thank you for the sponsors. Y'all know I got to do my shout out. Sponsors for the Chucks and Pearls for girls ages 16 to 24 is going down with that. I'm doing a speed dating event soon. And so anyway, I just thank y'all for just giving us this time with you guys, because what I do in certifying coaches is I help people help people. All I do, and get paid doing it. So go out there and change the world and make some money doing it. Tell them Coach Toy sent you, and Coach Sean. We will see you guys back in 2 weeks for Uncomfortable
Conversation.
Yes, that. I can't let anything control my mind, mood, or money.
You can tell y'all she's got that completely down pat. Mine is not going to be as smooth as hers, right? I am LaShawn Fleming Bruce. I go by Sean Speaks. I own and operate a law firm called the Fleming Bruce Law Firm here in Houston, Texas, although I practice all over Texas. And I'm the host of the Sean Speaks podcast and co-host with Coach Toy of Uncomfortable Conversations. I am a writer of a blog, freeyourthinkingmind.com. If you want to go on a journey to free your thinking mind so that you can live your best life today and every day and be happily together with yourself so that you can be happily together with somebody else, go check me out.
I love it.
Ashe.
Ashe.